All right, AI supply chain in China. Let's get into it. First, why it's important, why I care. Yeah, also don't know how this week became the big China news in the headline this week, but whatever, that's just relevant to geopolitics. So Chinese CXMT memory chip maker for AI, listing their shares in Hong Kong, the Hong Kong exchange. Important geopolitically for a few different reasons. And look, throughout this video, probably going to get some of the nomenclature wrong. If you want it to be 100% right, go watch fucking All In podcast or something. At the same time, this Chinese memory chip maker is eyeing an IPO just today. South Korean memory chip maker, one of the largest in the world, if not the largest, I'm totally not sure, listed their shares in the U.S. Now, again, both of these events are important to how the AI ecosystem and supply chains globally work now and will continue to work in the future. I've posted some stuff about national investments and where across the world, it's only a handful of countries, the production manufacturing, as well as the design of the actual chips takes place. So pause and take a look. Important to note, obviously national investment isn't everything. We have two very different, the West and China have two different, very different ways of funding and finding capital for these different projects. China is very much a top-down, so they'll shovel a bunch of money into industries that they want, which is, don't need to get into it, capital intensive, capital efficient, not very, versus the public capital market system we have across the West and obviously in the U.S. Yes, while the lower quality Chinese equivalent is eyeing the IPO and the South Korean IPO just went public, that focuses both on memory, and yes, memory is a very important part of the supply chain. It is not everything, and we listed here, or rather AI listed here, where around the world these competencies lie. As you can see, mostly at the highest quality level, mostly in the collective West, but across the U.S. as well, specifically. So again, we talked about this in yesterday's video, but as there's competition across each one of these different steps in the supply chain, we obviously are competing at a very high level, and right now the collective West, specifically the U.S., is leading in pretty much all of these areas. I think South Korea and SK Hynix specifically is the best in the world at memory. Nonetheless, the U.S. has to be implementing cybersecurity safeguards to protect that lead that we currently have. This is why it was a really big deal, and this is still pretty murky about whether or not this is actually true or not, but the maker of the highest end in the world, lithography systems, in the Netherlands, there's suspect information about whether or not China was able to get their hands on one of those, and there's currently export controls they has to the U.S. For the company ASML to export those to China. So what does the U.S. need to do? We need to focus on increased cybersecurity posture, specifically defense, to maintain that lead on the AI supply chain that we hold on many different parts and pillars of the supply chain, as well as working with our friends and allies, including the Netherlands, including Japan, including South Korea, to maintain those export controls, to maintain the lead that we have. Obviously, China right now is piling a bunch of money to each one of these areas to make a self-contained system where they are insulated from the West and any export controls they might be employing in the future. So, like, subscribe for more.